What's going on, everybody? This video right here is absolutely incredible. I think it is probably one of the most vital for you to watch as far as interviews as that I've ever done on this channel right here. Now, it is sponsored by Vivid. Shout out to them for sponsoring the video. Check out the link below if you're interested in getting a hair system at a discount. This video right here is going to be massive. Andrew is someone that is in the hair system Reddit community that we started. He's an active participant, and he got his first hair system after a long journey and battle with hair loss and different solutions. And we talk about a lot of stuff. We talk about identity. We talk about the whole journey. We talk about becoming a better man, and actually Andrew going from being somewhat of a bullying people with hair loss to having a lot of empathy and really being on a mission to change how he and other people affect the world around him. So I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna give you guys this interview. Please watch the whole thing. It is amazing from head to toe. I hope you enjoy it. Today we got Andrew with us, who is somebody that is in the hair system Reddit community, and he posted about his hair loss and hair system transformation. So I wanted to bring him on here to talk about his story. I just want to jump right into it. Now, I want to start off asking you, of course, what is your origin story with hair loss? So take me through the timeline of when you became conscious of hair loss, specifically your hair loss, up through today.
Yeah, so for me, it started around the age of, I'd say like anywhere from 17 to 19. I remember being in high school. If you ever took like a biology class, they do like the little Punnett squares, and one of the traits that you do is a widow's peak. So I always thought like, hey, I have a widow's peak, but I usually had bangs because the Justin Bieber haircut was kind of in when I was younger. So, I'd always be rocking that. And, so I kind of thought that I had like this little divot, but really what it was hairline recession. And I kind of just wasn't aware that I was going through hair loss, at like such a young age, being a teenager. And I remember I was like maybe 19 or 20, and I was home for the holidays. It was Christmas. It was Christmas Day, and I was hanging out with my family, and we're all kind of like chilling out, playing like Atari and Sega. And it's my turn, so I'm up, I'm playing, I'm going, and my dad's behind me, and he ends up making a comment where he's kind of like, hey, Andrew's balding. And everybody kind of laughed. And at the time, I remember feeling like pretty insecure about that. I mean, that's like something that really hadn't even flown on my radar yet. And, I'm already having like some crown thinning, and, I'm not even 20 yet. So, I mean, that was like a big thing for me. And, so I kind of went through, I looked up like hundreds of different places, thousands of different websites, kind of going through like, what's the best like end goal for me? Do I want to go for a hair transplant? How much is a hair transplant? The difference between like FUE and FUT, are you going to spend $40,000 for a hair transplant? Or are you going to try to buy a house like everybody else? And, you kind of go through all these different things where you're like, what is the solution? You learn about Finasteride and Rogaine. So, I ended up going on, I think it was called Hims at the time. They had like this subscription box where you could go and sign up for it. And it was like Finasteride with Rogaine, and they kind of give you like gummies and stuff, like little vitamins to eat. So I started doing that at like maybe the age of 19. And after a year, I realized that it's not really doing anything for me. Like I was sustaining the hair I already had, but the thinning that was there, it stayed there. And I wasn't really getting any regrowth. It was kind of just like holding on to what I had. But the issue was that I kind of started a little bit too late. And I mean, from this point, it kind of like turned from a mild insecurity into a borderline obsession. And it became like this like body dysmorphic problem where, I'd constantly be taking pictures. I'd take pictures from the back. I'd take pictures from the front, from the sides. Before I got a shower, after I got a shower, I'd be taking pictures. You're out with friends and you're like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. And they're thinking that you're going to the bathroom, but really you're just going in there to take a picture of your head to make sure that there's no scalp showing. And, I don't know. So I started getting these haircuts where my hair would be like disheveled to kind of cover like all the spots. You end up with like that weird comb over kind of thing. Not to like judge anybody that has, anything like that going on, but you end up with like that comb over. And then I started getting Topic, which is like the hair fiber building supplements to like sprinkle in there. And honestly, this was all kind of like delaying the inevitable. And when you have like that, like you have so many built up emotions inside you. And at the same time, you're kind of wondering like, all I'm doing is just constantly worrying about my hair. Like, what am I going to do? Like, and if you don't have anybody to talk to about it, that's another thing, because I think that a lot of men, like a lot of men, in my opinion, have a hard time talking about their emotions. I think that's like a societal problem. And this is potentially one of the, if not the biggest insecurity that men can go through. And it's almost like nobody's talking about it. I feel like we hear more derision or like butts of jokes, like comments about being bald than we do like, positive uplifting or like, taking care of people that are going through this issue. And I don't know. So kind of just to finish off with my story, I ended up trying to remedy the situation by just shaving it all off. I thought at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm going to be locked indoors with everybody. I might as well give it a shot, see if it works for me. And I remember going through with my clippers, like all the different settings. I started off at like a guard number 6, started shaving everything, went to, like a 4, started shaving, went to a 2. And finally I got down to the 0 and I buzzed it all off. And I had like this topic-y, like fibered hair scatter all over my floor. And it was like a spiritual experience for me, because I finally got rid of like this like giant, like monumentous pressure that was just building of, constantly worrying about something that's on top of my head. And I got this like temporary relief where I felt great. And, I thought like, this is the solution to my problems. And I was with my partner at the time. This was like 3 a.m. that I did it out of the blue. I decided, I'll go back to sleep and, she'll just see it in the morning. And I remember the morning after, she woke up and she was like, almost like freaked out. It was like she was in bed with a stranger, and she was kind of like, what did you do? And, we'd talked about it before, and she knew it was a big insecurity of mine. And obviously she was there to like help and support me with it. But it didn't change the fact that I realized that shaving everything off for me personally wasn't my identity. It wasn't something that I felt comfortable with, because, I think that some people look great bald, and I think that some people do like wonders with a shaved head. But for me, like with the type of build and the type of image that I have of myself in my head, like being bald almost wasn't an option. And I remember sending a picture of myself shaved to one of my friends, and I got back in all caps, LOL. And, that's like, it's just, getting confronted with something like that is just it's like a heavy burden that you get hit with. It's like, what do you do, or what do you say in response to something like that? How do you handle when people that you're supposed to be able to confide in kind of like make fun of you or poke fun at you? And, you're supposed to laugh it off and everything's supposed to be good and it's just supposed to be jokes, but that can be extremely hurtful. And, you don't realize that somebody that gets hit with those kind of comments, like, they'll be thinking about it for hours on end. So from that point forward, I had my head shaved. I decided, I'm just going to wear hats. I'll be a hat guy. I'll be like a hat fish. And I put hats on. I wore a different hat every single day. And, I 15 different hats, always wearing a hat. I'll be hanging out with people till 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's going to sleep. I'm falling asleep with a hat on. I'm always wearing a hat. The people that I did let see my head, like my shaved head, I'd show it to them. I'd be like, hey, this is kind of like what I look like. And it didn't even matter what exactly they said to me, because their reaction wasn't important to me, since my mind already made up what I thought they were thinking. It was like, I know what you're thinking. You think that I look bad. I know that you think that, my head looks like misshaped, or I have like that egg head, or I have like the weird divot in my head, or any possible thing that I could think is wrong. that's what you're thinking. And when you get to that point, like, it kind of cuts you off from reality and from the rest of the world, because you have this like monumental problem and nowhere to go or nothing to do, or like no way to help solve it. And so I looked for like kind of like a last ditch effort. I found this thing called SMP, which is scalp micropigmentation. And, you know, I think it's a great solution for certain people, or, you know, for anybody that looks at it and says, you know, that's right for me. I think that you 100% should give it a shot. It was about $3,000. I found like a reputable clinic. I went to them, saved up all the money for it, and I got it taken care of. And it did give me some like temporary relief for a period of time. I would say for like the first month, I felt kind of great having it done. So I stopped wearing a hat all the time, which was great. You know, I thought to myself, like, this could be like what's right for me. But then I started showing people that I was close to, like my family and like some of my friends. And I got like a lot of nasty comments about it. Like, why did you shave your head? Like, are you this? Are you that? And I got all these negative comments that really weren't uplifting to me. And again, it kind of spoke to this thing where it's like, I don't know if this is part of my identity, or if this really speaks to me personally, to what I should be doing with my hair loss journey. So I finally, you know, I started wearing hats again. I kind of sat to myself a lot. I didn't really hang out with a lot of people. And, you know, I ended up finding your channel, and this is where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You pretty much touched on every possible solution that's currently available. So you kind of run the gamut as far as consideration and or trying. Really, the only thing you haven't tried is a hair transplant, but you've looked at it and we're planning. So you've gone kind of through all of the stuff there. So definitely a long journey, and one where, you know, you tried a lot of different solutions. You know, my first question about this really is like, you know, you said you're 2 months into this journey right now with a hair system. Do you feel, you said at first like SMP, you felt some relief, felt good. Do you feel something that's different with a hair system, or are you still in that period where you're like, I don't know if this is a long-term answer for me?
So currently I feel like this is definitely the solution for me. I think based on just like how difficult it is to get into hair systems, like how steep of a learning curve, the amount of effort I've put into doing this, kind of compared to anything else, like the hands-on, like getting down and dirty, doing all the work for it. I've really put a lot of effort into trying to learn hair systems. And the reason why I feel like it's a better like long-term solution is because it kind of gives you the mental image, at least for me personally, it gives me the mental image of what I think when I think like, this is what I want to look like. It gives me like the peace at mind where, you know, I have the hair on my head. I don't have any bald spots. I don't have to worry about, you know, like hairlines. I don't have to worry about anything. It gives you all of the relief, and it kind of like just gives you the acceptance that you could have with yourself, if that makes any sense. Whereas, I think like with some of the other solutions that I went through, they were almost like, it was like a compromise, or it was like settling for something. And with hair systems, I think they give you what you want.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, that's an interesting topic. I'm actually like writing down a note because I'm going to make a video on this later, but the topic of like acceptance, right? Sometimes there's this, I've heard this debate between different communities. Really, it's all one community, and we're the hair loss community, but between people that have chosen to shave their head, people that have chosen a hair system, people that have chosen SMP, they've chosen whatever. And some of them feel like they're better than others because they've accepted it, and they've just gone like, hey, I'm shaving my head, I've accepted it, and I'm now over it and stuff. Do you feel that you've accepted your hair loss? Do you feel as if this solution for you is your form of acceptance, in a way of almost admitting, you know, this identity issue? Now, we didn't really go into depth about it, but you started out this conversation talking about like, you know, that was your identity. Hair was part of your identity. Do you feel like this is part of that acceptance process for you, even though it's led to a different outcome?
100%. Yes. I think that no matter what you choose, if it's the solution for you, then it is you accepting it, because acceptance doesn't really, I don't think personally that acceptance comes from owning something or doing something a certain way or following what everybody else is doing. I think acceptance comes from within, because the only person that is going to accept you is yourself. And so whether or not you think that concealing it by, you know, wearing a hair system, if you think that that isn't a form of acceptance, then I would say to those people that respectfully that isn't, you know, that's like not the way for you. You know, that's not the right solution for you. But at the same time, I wouldn't criticize, you know, any solution. I would just say that those solutions aren't right for me.
Yeah. So an interesting point that I've noticed as you've been talking about, you know, your hair loss and different solutions, is just about every single solution that you had tried, you actually talked about what other people's reactions were. Until you talked about hair systems, and then you talked about how you felt, which I think is a really interesting contrast. You know, whether it was a subconscious choice of yours, or maybe it's just coincidence. But to me, what I noticed is that you talked like, hey, you know, shave my head, girlfriend's reaction. I tried SMP, family and friends' reactions. Tried a hair system, I feel like me. So to me, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that when you're struggling to find your identity, I think that you're going to latch on to what everybody else thinks, and you're going to wonder what everybody else thinks, because you're still trying to find yourself. You know, if you can't accept yourself, then how are you going to face yourself? How are you going to talk to yourself about all the different issues that you have, all the different, you know, like the big problems that you have, whether it's hair loss or if it's anything with like finances, with anything at all. Humans are great at avoiding things, myself included. I mean, I avoided this problem for a long time. I tried a bunch of different solutions, and it's, you know, really at the end of the day, it starts off as wondering what everybody else thinks, and then coming to the realization that ultimately their opinion doesn't matter if you're not happy. And finding that happiness internally is, I think that's what acceptance is all about. Yeah,
I agree with you. This is an internal process. It's not a process of acceptance with what other people think about us. It's about us learning to accept where we are, who we are, the things that we have to deal with. And if that means if a person rocks being, you know, shaved head, cool. If you rock a full wig, cool. If you rock whatever, just do you. If you want to rock hats the rest of your life and that's part of your identity, that's cool too. So I think that's really great. Now, really quickly, I want to go over, tell the folks at home what systems you've been trying, what it is that you like, what you got on right now.
Yeah, so I tried out LaVivid. I thought I'd give them a shot, see what they're all about. Went on their website. I'm a 4 for my color. Finding your color, that's like the most important thing in my opinion. If you get the little color swatch thing, they give you like a refund for it. But obviously, I'm not sponsored by LaVivid. But yeah, so if you figure out whatever color it is, you go on there, you look at the different systems. If you've watched any of Jake's vids, you could kind of see like, oh, you know, I think that the lace kind of looks good, or I think that the poly system is good for me for these reasons. And you kind of just pick what you think is right for you. I started off with a poly system. It was the Eros, or no, it was the Mirage, I believe. And I thought the Mirage was good. I liked it. I liked how it looked. I got a pre-cut, and I kind of just like messed around with it on my own. I did like a lot of like experimenting. Jake talks about in one of his videos, your first hair system should be kind of like an experimental one. You should kind of expect to ruin it because, you know, it's your first one. The learning curve's pretty steep. And so the second one I got, it was a lace one. I think it's the Aries. It's like lace in the front and just a little bit of poly in the back. And this one, I'm in love with it. I think for me personally, it's the right choice. I think that lace is great. There's nothing wrong with poly. I think the poly's great. The hairline looks great on it and everything. But yeah, I think the system I'm rocking right now is the one I'm going to stick with.
Dope. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Now, so I want to kind of shift it in, I want to shift into talking a little bit about something that we talked about in a previous conversation, but we didn't talk about it yet. And that's kind of how you've transformed as a person through this hair loss journey, because we talked a little bit about the choices that you, or the different solutions that you've tried, how it's led you here, how it's kind of merged with your identity. But what have you seen any changes inside of your life as you've gone through this hair loss process and who you are, becoming a better person?
Oh yeah, 100%. So when I first started going through this hair loss journey, I already talked about this with Jake. I was definitely a little bit of a bully. I would criticize a lot of people, especially people for going through like the hair loss experience or balding. I remember making fun of other people with my friends. And what's kind of like coincidental about that, like the karmatic part of it, if you will, is that I ended up being the person that went through hair loss in my group. I became essentially the person or the people that I would make fun of. And obviously I made fun of people for other reasons too. I realized that I was a very immature person and that I had to do a lot of growth. And part of the hair loss journey for me was kind of learning that, like when you bully people and when you are mean towards others and you lash out at people or make fun of others, you're not really doing that because of them or because of qualities that they have. You're doing it because of something that you're going through internally. You're doing it because, maybe you have a fragile ego, or, maybe you have these problems that you haven't really identified in your life yet. And subconsciously, you're kind of just lashing out at others. There's so many different things that could be going on with you internally that maybe you're just not in check with. And even if you are in check with them and you're not ready to accept them, the easiest way to get those feelings out, if you're a man especially, is to kind of just make fun of others. We have the internet now. It's really easy to just log on and, talk some smack. And I don't think that that's the right way to go about helping yourself with problems. I realize that there's always going to be that in the world, but when you come to the realization that, this is what I'm going through, and you start to realize like this is how big the problem is for me. You start to realize that I'm the exact problem with the world. I'm the thing that I am trying to run away from. If there weren't people like me, then everybody would just be content with the people, with who they are. Everybody would be content and accepting of who they are. But there's people like who I used to be in the world that kind of promote and like cause a lot of these like negative stigmas towards everything, whether it's hair systems, whether it's balding, whether it's like SMP, whether it's just rocking the shaved look. Like any part of the hair loss community, as well as many other communities that are marginalized, they all kind of go through the same thing, where there's, whether it's a large body of people or just kind of the general opinion that most people have, it's this negative opinion that, if they don't put second thought into it, it could really be damaging for those. And you don't realize how damaging it is until you have to live it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And that's a very vulnerable thing for you to say. But the beautiful thing about, this journey is obviously, you're growing, but you are kind of a proverbial Paul, if you will, from the Bible, in the sense of like, persecuting people or bullying them to, that's a lesser degree of it, but bullying people to having a lot of empathy and trying to help people. And I think that's an actual like fantastic, beautiful transition. We need those examples in the world of individuals that perhaps didn't realize, they've come to realize. Like the opportunity for a man that's becoming self-actualized to help those around them when they've been the thing that they're trying to fix in the world is phenomenal. Like the opportunity is massive because it resonates. I've been there, but this is why we need to change. I've been there, but this is why we need to grow. So I think that experience doesn't make you less than. It makes you. It gives you your own unique message, spin, and twist that is exceptional, and it's a needed voice. So thank you for that. Now, moving forward, is there anything for those that are listening to this channel, whether they might be new or they've been watching these videos, or they've been in this community for a while that you feel you'd like to have as your kind of your parting words to them?
Yeah, 100%. First of all, if you're not in Jake's subreddit, 100% I think you should join. It's great for everybody. I think all the members in the community are positive. I think that there's a lot of good advice in there if you have any questions. If you do have any questions, don't be afraid to just put it up there. Somebody's definitely going to answer. Other than that, I would say that hair systems, they're not right for everybody, but for some people, they're the perfect solution. And if you first start out in this journey with hair systems, it's going to be difficult. If you're doing it on your own without a hairstylist, you're going to go through a lot of problems, but you just have to sit down. You have to just, kind of try to be calm, be patient, realize it's just a template that's going on your head. Kind of break it down, watch some of Jake's guides, and try some stuff out. If it doesn't work out the first time, there's always another time. You take a break from it, try it again later. I don't think that if you're in the wrong headspace for doing something like putting a hair system on, if you just take a little bit of a break and step away from it and then come back to it the next day, you'll have a much better time with it. I had a question when I first started wearing hair systems that I put on the subreddit, where I ended up shaving like too much of the back of the hair system off, or the back of my hair off. And, they kind of like wiggled me through it. I ended up putting it on a little bit crooked, but I made it work. And, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure everything out, but it's a journey for everybody. And honestly, as long as you stick to it, eventually it gets really easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the key is like, first, subreddit is not mine, it's the community's. So happy that we got that there. It's a steep learning curve, and just gotta keep trying, just keep getting better. I'm still getting better, still learning. I look at the videos I used to make and I cringe at some of the stuff that I used to wear for a hairstyle. So it's all good. We're all just learning together, so that's great. So thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on here. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a comment. Say thank you to Andrew for sharing his story. It's the first time he's sharing his story. Like the video, and thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.